they are counterparts to the astrological cherubim and their sub-spirits, must be their physical counterparts. Typically, seraphim is associated with fiery, but they are used to represent certain feminine and maternal earthly qualities. The angels that are dipped in red are not fiery at all, more representative of the blood of sacrifice, the birth of new angels or spirits. We also have the Fountain of Youth paintings of early Christian art. They too contain the symbols we've become familiar with. From John Elder, this is called Le Bain Mystique, or Mystique Bain Marie, the mystical alchemical bath. We see a group of people bathing in the blood of Christ. They're bathing in a large golden vessel, and there's a woman to the left in red. Mary Magdalene, or some goddess with the star of Inanna on her head. She's pushing this man into the bath of blood. The Fountain of Youth is also some massive orgy depicted in early medieval artworks, like this 14th century fresco from Manta Castle, showing many people mating on the bottom level. But on the higher level, where there's some type of union of opposites, there's another fresco here that shows the coat of arms, and they're royal women with the 3 symbolism on the flags and a Rosicrucian swan. Van Eyck also has an interesting Fountain of Youth called the Fountain of Life. It has interesting architecture because we're gonna see something similar in a minute. We see Jesus crowned as Pope, and on the throne are 4 cherubim. Under him is the Lamb of God, and there's water flowing out from it. This is the water of eternal life, flowing down into another device-like fountain that is releasing water to a priest and a mage with a chest plate that contains talismanic stones. This is the breastplate of Aaron, and each stone represents a sign of the zodiac. He's being blinded by other members as they break his flag. It could be the triumph of the church over the synagogue. However, it's interesting that the high priest would even be here to bless the waters. There are many Fountain of Youth depictions throughout history, but it's interesting to consider whether this may be hidden symbolism referring to the process of eternal life. Well, let's continue. Now, we're going to discuss a famous surrealist artist, a favorite by many, Hieronymus Bosch, which is perfect because he also has a Fountain of Youth, or Garden of Earthly Delights, and we can just start there. Now, I want to first mention that before Bosch, there was a slow transition into this type of surrealism. Hugo van der Hees was doing something similar, but all the artists around the time were doing religious paintings, and we saw one earlier of Bosch in that Adoration, but Bosch did religious paintings as well, and little's really known on what his intentions truly were and where did this all come from. So the question is, did Bosch know the secret? The reason I preface it with this is because surrealists could hide symbols more in the open under the guise of madness. As if anyone asked any questions, you could just say, oh, that's hell, or that's just imagination. So it would seem that Bosch was well aware of this, and or we're witnessing the inner mind of one of these Renaissance artists. Now let's take a look at the Garden of Earthly Delights. It's a triptych, so we have 3 different scenes to look at. Let's start from the left, where we have Adam and Eve, and Jesus is holding Eve's arm. This must be the creation of Eve, as Adam is laying down, and below them is a dark pool of chaos with a variety of hybrid-like creatures. As we scroll up, we start to get a glimpse of how Bosch envisioned the Garden of Eden. It isn't just surreal, it's from another dimension entirely. Very alien when you look up close. This is the Garden of Eden, and the animals when they first were generated. And it seems that they're all forming from these hybrid black creatures from the fountain. Also notice how the cow is the only one not drinking from the fountain. This fountain is an alchemical device. You can see it's pink, so it's sexual in nature or indicative of love, and we see the caduceus as 2 mushrooms intertwined. We then also see the 3-pillar symbolism and an owl. For some reason there are many owls in here. The animals in the background are living their lives in this surreal, otherworldly landscape. We now move on to the middle scene. This is no longer the initial Garden of Eden, but now it's been overpopulated. Many beings have been generated, and it's starting to look like the Sabbath, as they are performing some sort of dance or ritual in a circle as the women bathe. If we back out and look at the foreground, let's work from the bottom up. One thing to point out before we do that is that the majority of these humans are light-skinned, but there are a few examples of dark-skinned figures here. There doesn't seem to be anything inherently racist by Bosch other than the variety present. However, if we consider that this may be secret symbolism, perhaps this can be interpreted differently. There are other woodcuts and depictions of these dark figures from the Sabbath, and some medieval artists decided to use dark or black African figures as symbols for demons or monsters. This is not to argue that it's true, however, there are a few things to consider. 1. During this time, many of these medieval artists had certain biases on skin color and religious association. That's obvious. However, they could have used this as a symbol to represent beings such as demons that were also associated with darkness because of these inherent biases of their times. 2. We must also consider that the Saracens and the Islamic Moors of Spain were the ones who first got access to this knowledge after the reset, so perhaps this is a symbol for priest of hidden knowledge. It's interesting because we see these black figures with cherries on their head, and these cherries are delicacies. She's wearing it on her head. The cherry came from the trees, and they're massive, so they're most likely apples or symbols of knowledge. Look at how the dark woman is standing. She has more composure and wrapped leaves, looking like a priestess of this early chaotic wonderland. We see these humans feasting to their pleasure's delight. Notice all the egg symbolism in the front and the feeding of fruits and grapes. There's also this strange orange tower here with an upside down black crescent. There are black cherries here, and it seems like this guy has a raspberry on his head attempting to imitate the other cherry priest. Also, this guy has flowers emitting from his rear. As we move to the right, we see another dark priest with a cherry on his head and holding some type of grape fashion around his arm. The birds seem to be mating symbols, but there are many different variations. As we look at the far right bottom corner, we see glass. Wait, hold up. What's going on here? There are people hiding underground and they're fully clothed? He's pointing to a woman with her mouth shut, and she's encased in glass with these strange egg-shaped features. So there's an underground section to this environment? Look up above. There's an owl with a couple under a shell that makes this androgynous being, and they're holding a bunch of these big cherries, so that's some type of god with fruits of knowledge. An owl god? Let's keep in mind that the black priest is looking and pointing to this orange building. This is a clue, because it's the only section in this bottom area that we see these black feather pointy looking things. It's almost as if the black represents the Azoth generative principle of chaos. But it may be that those who are holding the black fruits are practicing bad knowledge or a different type of knowledge. We'll see more of this. If we come back to the center foreground near the pond to the left, we see some strange things going on in the pool. A couple is making love in a glass ball, and on the bottom there's someone inside the end being born. There's only one way out. That's why the rat is there. To the right of this, we get a man in a seashell. This signifies that these humans are being spontaneously generated. It's not all through sex. We start to see some silver-like beings, and they're not just painted that way because of the shading. That is some other type of colored human in these paintings. One of them is hugging a giant owl, and there are a few more in this pond. Many different eggs and birds, all representing that this is a sex-generative act occurring. I didn't mention this, but if you look at the red teepee-looking thing, there's a bird with a tiny cherry, and these people are begging for a taste. It's almost as if this represents the church and the hoarding of sacred knowledge. In the center we have many beings, hybrids, chimeras, many phallic symbols, even another owl. If we look at the entire scene, we can see that there are mermaids, strange knighted hybrid fish-like beings that have red fruits and black fruits. We see an Astarte-like Phoenician mermaid, and the main centerpiece is this phallic alchemical flask in the center of the garden. This is a massive generation factory. We also see that the beings that are flying have cherries, so they contain the knowledge of flight. Now we enter the hell, and it seems as if this is some type of cataclysm, as there are ruins in the background and even hordes of knights. What is Bosch trying to say with this painting? So did Bosch know about the homunculus? This painting seems to be a depiction of the world after the knowledge of magic was released. Because after seeing these rabbits, a hand with dice, and a lady with dice pouring out water, we see all sorts of strange depictions. Let's start with the most blatant. We see Horus eating a man and then birthing him out of his rear into a pit where a man of silver is defecating gold. Then, we see this entire silver priesthood behind him. One even has the crescent to confirm this is a homunculus. Horus also has a cauldron on his head. Under the robe, his feet are in vases and there's a woman inside a strange glass contraption with legs made out of tree branches. There's also a woman with a frog on her chest being wrapped by some black creature. Now let's get to these music devices. So we have two cults, the cult of the frog and the cult of the crescent. And we can see that these are on different flags. The instruments are being played by victims, and there's a gray man with an egg on his back, interestingly, and the sky of this bottom section turns into black water. Now we see these activities are occurring on some body of dark fluid. We see some people trying to boat their way into this knowledge, but the one who made it the farthest to the left fell into this dark fluid, representing one trying to achieve the secret of alchemy. These people represent the fools who are trying to learn but fail to do so. The interesting thing about this area is we get clear symbols for secret brotherhoods. These blue beings are practicing some secret wisdom, as this silver man seems to be initiated by climbing the ladder into their secret meeting. To the left, the silver man is a key and the blue man controls the lever. There's another cult that has the flag of this strange bagpipe organ looking structure. This seems to be the cult's flag, and the people inside this white eggshell with the face are the order behind it. To the right we have knights who are being greatly punished, and they are the cult of the frog. They are being destroyed. The answer seems to be below under the knife. There's a man riding an old lady or witch and heading into a vase. But look at who's watching this unfold. The white-robed man is telling this other man with the monk haircut what's going on. Then we make our way to the top and see that there's a reset happening. Even if it's all surreal, because he also integrates religious symbolism, we can conclude that there's more to this than just imagination. He has a Saint John with a lamb, and there are these generative plants that serve as spontaneous generation symbols. The description literally says that he made these up himself, so these are forms that he created by intelligent design. It's not just random. We know he had a fascination with owls, and that he was a part of a brotherhood of Our Lady, so he should know all about this. Strangely, there's even a painting by him where a Mary-like figure named Saint Wigglefortis is crucified at her feet and tied together like Diana of Ephesus. Look at the buildings in the background. Oh, and this is crazy. So he has this painting called The Conjurer. In the first one, we can see that this guy with the key in the foreground is being tricked by a conjurer to the right, and he's holding the ball to distract the wealthy merchant while the man behind him tries to steal his keys. Or is he? How would that even work? That would be noticeable. He's actually holding it, and he has his cap to show you that this is the key of misdirection, and they fully understood this art and how to use it within paintings. Furthermore, this isn't the only painting. There's another one that is said to be a copy from the 16th century. Well, in this one, we see the exact same scene, but there's more to the right now. What is this to the right behind him? We have 3 men eating at a table. There's a window to the inside of a dark room where there's an owl and a cow reading some ancient books. On the outside of this building is a fabric hanged up that has different sized flask or potion bottles. In the background, someone is getting hung, so the hanged man. Then there's Christ breaking down the gates of hell, 1540. This one's interesting because we see a hell mouth, and these people are going through a funnel into the water, and Jesus is opening the door. So wait, souls can come out of hell eventually? So then it is sort of like a rebirth transformation in this scenario. So the purpose of hell is to cleanse and purify the soul through torture? I have to also mention that there are a bunch of followers of Hieronymus Bosch, and these are what some of the copies are, but they are from that same era, which is interesting because there are some that are not copies, but they don't have the author names, and they're just attributed as follower of Hieronymus Bosch, 16th century. One such painting is very alchemical. A follower of Hieronymus Bosch, an angel leading a soul into hell, 16th century, oil and panel. There's a flask-like building, an Athenor building, with frog-like demons guiding them. Look at the buildings in the background in flames. So yeah, there are multiple versions of each painting weirdly, and then you have these followers, so I don't know, it's kind of insane if this is all done by hand. And we also have to consider that there are multiple versions of each painting. After Bosch, we get a similar style from Peter Bruegel Elder and younger. There is an alchemist engraving by Bruegel Elder. This is an alchemist workshop, and on the surface, it would seem they are attempting to make gold. But what's going on with the children with cauldrons on their heads and being led to the tunnel in the background? So as I was saying, there's this really weird thing where there are multiple Hieronymus Bosch authors, and this guy has some engravings that he designed, and they were published by a Hieronymus cock. Not sure what that's all about, but this guy is connected to Bosch, and he has all the same symbols. He also painted a famous version of the Tower of Babel. Some of his engravings are extremely symbolic, chaotic, and show that there may be more to this early surrealism than just imagination. Interestingly, Younger has some similar paintings, and there's also one with this similar flag that we saw from the Garden of Delights, the crescents. Now we need to go into some of the secrets contained in some of the most cryptic text on alchemy. These are crucial to cover. We didn't want to have them earlier without discussing everything first, as these are texts that are very difficult to translate, but now that we've seen the symbols, we should be able to find some clues. We'll start with George Ripley, 1415 to 1490. George Ripley was one of England's most famous alchemists. His alchemical writings attracted attention not only when they were published in the 15th century, but also later in the 16th and 17th centuries. His writings were studied by noted figures such as alchemist John Dee, Robert Boyle, and even Isaac Newton. The Ripley Scroll is an extraordinary manuscript that describes how to create the Philosopher's Stone. This is crazy, so the scroll is like 6 meters long, and there are 23 variations of this original lost 15th century scroll. So they have different details and hints, and some are quite different, but we'll start with this Yale one that's on Wiki. So we're going to start from the top and make our way down. So we start off with the alchemist at the very top, and he's holding a flask. This alchemist, in this version, is wearing red. Now we see these blood sperm looking things that we've seen before on trousers and in Freemason symbol patterns. This seems to be the origin of that symbol. It's some type of prima materia of the blood of Azoth, coming down into the vase to create a mixture with the frog as the highlight. Why the frog? This is Hecate. To the Egyptians, the frog was an ancient symbol of fertility. In this version, the frog is not emitting any fluids, but that's not the case in other versions. We see 8 different spheres, and the 9th is Azoth, and the 10th is the center, the final word, the kingdom, Malkuth. What do we see in each one of these depictions? A woman being created with these sperm shapes raining from the top. Notice how this is watched by a group of people, and this is not the work of a single alchemist, something that's not typically shown in our illustrations of the alchemist in popular culture. This looks to be some type of workflow in operation. We start like a clock, and the Adam and Eve is the first sphere. Someone is cutting the entire tree of knowledge down, forget just the fruit. And Adam and Eve are depicted as sun and moon. We see the two in a flask together, while 5 men who look like priests watch this occur over in Athenor. Notice the bird. So they've created some type of union and a bird comes out. This is the Holy Spirit. The next sphere shows only 3 people now, and there are 3 flasks on the right. Notice how there is a spirit being distilled from the blood mixture of the Adam and Eve. This would seem to be the origin of alcohol spirits. They too are homunculus. Now the process is iterated and refined. There are 2 bottles, one with the bird, one with the man. They're adding to the mixture. Then in the next stage, we see 4 men standing around a flask, watching as this refinement creates another birth. So they're doing this over and over, and it creates a tiny little human as the tiny sperm shapes fall. The next stage shows how the man that has dissolved in the liquid is gold, and there's this woman who is fully grown. The next 3 stages, the only noticeable change, strangely, is that the men are growing in count, and the woman is changing from silver to normal skin. There's a full crowd to witness this, and we've come full circle. But wait, look in the center large circle. There's a pope and a priest, and they're greedily hoarding this book with large chains. Each chain is a path to the different stages we were looking at. We see spirit, soul, body. This represents the results between each different stage, the mixture created. But notice that there's one chain that is missing. Could this mean that this is the knowledge that they've given out? But wait, that's the Garden of Eden. So is this the Bible? As we go down the scroll, we see that this entire depiction is also a homunculus, as it too is on an Athenor. We enter the next scene. We see a Gnostic tree of life containing 2 magnets on the leaves with a Sophia as the snake with the label Spiritus. She's bringing down the fruit, which is a silver homunculus with the label Anima for soul. This soul is being brought down the tree, and the vines break off as a current to where the sun and moon character are bathing. There are several alchemists working on this project, 7 in fact, representing the different planetary influences, as this is crucial for the creation of a homunculus. We can see that this container that the sun and moon characters are in is shaped like a castle or a star fort. Then we come to a lower level of what seems to be a bain-marie. There's a man in the middle and it says corpus, so this is a physical body. This is the vehicle for the newly created homunculus. Then what do we see? The anima, which is the soul. Those are the cherubim. They are the souls of the babies. And then on the right, we have the spiritus, which is the seraphim, which finally explains why they are red. Spiritus, which is spirit, was also assigned to Sophia on the Tree of Life. It is the feminine blood attribute. Notice how this pool is filled with blood, and we also are getting a similarity to that bathing in the blood of Christ painting. Then we see the 4 elements, which are also assigned to the 4-faced cherubim. They're not just the seasons, but the elemental forces that make up our physical realm. Then we see Leviathan, or the regurgitating demon snake that we've been seeing throughout this entire video, but this time spitting out a frog. Then we see 2 lions guarding a fire. The next scene is raining semen with a red sun. There's a basilisk, which is a female homunculus representing menstrual blood. The 2 are mixing in the sphere. This is the mixing of the white and red stone. Then the final section shows the serpent of Arabia, a dragon biting its own tail while it gives birth into the final chamber below, and then we see 3 cells get fertilized. This also looks like the orb and cross, if you notice that. This is the 3 stages: the red stone, the prima materia, Mary, Sophia. Then the white stone, the aqua, semen, or anima force. And then the elixir of life, or the philosopher's stone, the final work, the homunculus. The famous Voynich manuscript ties into all of this. It seems that scholars are still struggling to decode the mysterious language used in the book. There is some new research that's interesting, but it's not conclusive as it hasn't been published fully yet. Instead of trying to translate it, we're going to look at some of the history and information connected to the Voynich manuscript and see if it connects with our current research. The Voynich manuscript is the world's most mysterious book. Countless minds have attempted to decode its mysteries. It was written in an unknown script by an unknown author, and supposedly, Yale suggests that it was purposeless. However, when looking through these images, you just can't help to think that it's some type of manual or book regarding herbal magic, astrology, and alchemy. The history of the book, in following the path of the different people who once owned it, allows us to pinpoint certain clues. We can see that certain figures that we've already covered were fascinated by this book. According to some researchers, for example Gordon Rugg, John Dee may have owned the Voynich manuscript, as well as Liber VACCAE. John Dee owned an extensive occult library, so we could conclude that perhaps he felt that this work was alchemical or magical in nature. Even scholars have clearly recognized the alchemical nature of the book. The beginning of the book are these strange plants, some of which are unidentifiable and look quite alien. But there are some questionable areas concerning some depictions that seem to be the generation of human beings. So after the plants, we see some strange foreign zodiac charts. Some of them have spirals or even flowers in the center. Then there's this one where we can see two fish that seem to be depicting a chart with Pisces in the center. And we see all these different stars represented as people in barrels. They do look like they're emerging or being birthed from the barrels, not bathed. We can confirm this because there are a few variations of this. We see clothed women, so they're bathing with clothes on. We even see the red hats from the Renaissance art. The next two charts are a white and black goat. The next page is unclear, but it seems to be a red stag and the union of opposites. This would connect to the work of the Ripley scroll. We have the black, white, and red stone, followed by the androgynous being or couple. These zodiac charts are representing different stages of the alchemical process, but they are aligned and showing the necessary astrological energies associated with the process. We can't read the special names and forces because they've been coded. Notice how in each stage, there's progression with the humans in the barrels. At first with the Pisces one, they were naked in the baths, then they became clothed in the baths. Then the zodiac with the red stag or horse with horns, we begin to see that they are fully emerged, and even some of them look like a miniature human. If we look at the union of opposites one, although it's not clear, we can see that there are many more stars now, and they're out of their barrels or baths. We get to the next page where we now see a creature, possibly a four-legged land animal, and then a magus in a blue robe. The next zodiac is a scale balancing two different waters. Now we are separating this creation of the blue anima, the soul, and look at the humans now. They are fully formed holding stars, and one of them is crowned. This looks to be a last judgment. And let's also remember that all these zodiac charts seem to be representing the months as well, as there are 12, but within each is a stage of the alchemical process. The next page shows 4 women standing on top for the 4 elements, and there is a serpent of Arabia with its tail in a loop, and it is eating the star instead. Finally, the last circle is the archer, but interestingly, it looks as if he is killing them as they are lying down and they are losing their stars. What this means is this was the alchemical process in which they collected the energies from each sign of the zodiac and assigned it a stage in the alchemical process. At the final stage with the Archer or Sagittarius, it's showing how this is the final stage in which they have killed the stars and have extracted their essence. After this, we see these star beings manifest from the divine down a green fluid. Notice the similarities from the Ripley scroll. There are multiple levels. Although it's more organic and creative, they are flowing down. And what's the color of the fluid? Green. It's green because of the entire portion of the first section of the book. The Voynich manuscript seems to be an alchemical book on how to use herbs to forcibly manifest the divine energies into physical form. That's what we're seeing with these fluids, an analogy for the creation of a talisman. However, it's important to note that the plants are natural talismans, so they don't need to capture any astrological forces. The herbs and the stars are one and the same. The illustrations are showing the process in which different energies are extracted through the use of different herbs. After they drop down, one is captured in a tub, and the others continue down. Then on the next page, we have 9 different glass jars used to extract the different essences from the stars using the herbs. In the blue area, above the jars are 3 symbols. One is unclear, but the other 2 seem to be a rose and cross. These jars each represent a Sephiroth, including the blue, and there are 10 women in total, and that green fluid is being collected. After this, we see further distillation. The green begins to turn blue as more divine stars from the zodiac earlier are being extracted. Okay, so that's the divine extraction section, but it's important to consider that although it's an interpretation, even if the text was fully decoded, it would still take an understanding of symbols to be able to decode the visual component, and there are similarities to be made that require no language at all. From this point on, we get into detailed script that hasn't been fully translated as of yet, but we see small little depictions that may give us clues. These are the beings from earlier, so there's not much to conclude other than this is a manual section on what you can do with these energies once you've extracted them, kind of like a spellbook. This man is holding a horseshoe, so there could be spells, as this is a symbol in witchcraft used to protect against evil spirits. We can continue to the next page, where we see some strange pipes that resemble the glass of the alchemist. Now this isn't floral anymore, but this is showing tubing. So this could still be discussing the different essences that have been extracted and how they can be continually separated. It shows an essence being dissolved into particles through 3 tubes, and then it's divided into 2. So this must be separation. After creating the 2 separate energies, we have the cherubim and the seraphim again, and the woman and the male with the Phrygian cap. It does actually seem to be this, which is very strange. Then in the center, we see the creation of a homunculus, and it looks like Jesus but with breast. You could say it resembles a Christ-like figure because in the center it has a nest, and there are 3 flasks underneath for the Trinity and the 3 stones. Remember in the Ripley scroll, this process is iterative and involves multiple stages of separation and distillation. From here, it seems that the process actually starts over again, so that the first entire mixture was the creation of that homunculus Christ figure. Now, we see that it started over again and there are new fluids being powered. This shows again that these are mixtures most likely resulting from the herbs in the beginning of the book. So what we're seeing seems to be a creative way to represent the distillation process. It's the same thing. Once captured, there are different stages as these essences are being separated one by one into different groups and then making their way down to create mixtures. This time, the final result of this one is a chimera-like being, and there are multiple animals. They are hybrids. The large green pools are typically the final mixture of the distillation. We see this collect in tubs, and they are the results. We continue to a new section where it seems that they start over again. At the top, we have 10 people, possibly the Sephiroths, but it's not clear as the 2 on the right may be an Adam and Eve-like figure. We see the distillation process begin, and there's even a lady being baptized. These different bodies, who some of which have crowns, are again being divided, collected, and distilled further for a new mixture. In one of the tubs, we can see a pipe releasing blue fluid. Now it continues into another similar scene, with two of the humans on each side, and they are merging into a vessel or nest. But there's no human this time. Instead, right under what we see is a blue being, so Anima, is going through a four-way pipe and is being forced out the fire end, where a sun-like star is coming out and floating over to this other lady who is dressed in green, so this is a mixture, and that Anima is being collected into her through the black stone, the Philosopher's Stone. This is the transfer of a soul into another body. Then at the end, what do we see? The lady that was green before is now to the right, shocked. She's in a blue tub because she just got mixed with Anima, and now she's being added to a final pool or mixture of all these other ladies. This is the creation of a new human and the attachment of a soul. We continue further down and we see the different types of homunculus that you can create. We see a rainbow representing divine intervention, and this is replicated towards the bottom where we see two rainbows, two people to the left, a female in a bucket, so the prima materia, the red stone, a male outside the bucket, so Anima, white stone, and then the merged hermaphroditic creature holding a three-way pipe is in the green bucket with the black stone, the Philosopher's Stone. This process is repeated a few more times. And if you were questionable on whether the herbs were related to alchemy, later in the book, there's an entire section dedicated to making these different mixtures, and it also goes with what we were reviewing before. Notice how it's a distillation device, almost resembling an athanor. But if we consider the alchemical illustrations from earlier, it seems logical to conclude that they are connected. If you look close, you can see that there are green fluids in the side of these vessels. They are using the roots of the plants, and clearly, this is a book on making herbal mixtures or potions. However, in the right context, we can see how it is more than just that. This is showing the process of astrological influence on plants and how to extract them. It's a book diving into alchemical secrets. We don't need to decode the words to deduce that information. Furthermore, why was it kept cryptic in the first place? If it was discussing the alchemical Philosopher's Stone, then that would make sense why this has been kept secret behind code, so that only those initiated or the ones with the cipher can receive the full knowledge. Interestingly, Roger Bacon plays into this because he was the one who started the use of cryptography in alchemy in one of his early books from 1270. He explains precisely why this was done. Quote, "A man is a crazy who writes a secret in any other way that one which will conceal it from the vulgar." End quote. So we know that the alchemists use ciphers to hide their secrets. Is the Voynich manuscript an alchemical manuscript describing the secrets behind the creation of the homunculus? The peacock is a significant symbol in alchemy. The ancient Greeks held a belief that the flesh of the peacock didn't decay after death, leading it to symbolize immortality. As Christianity began to emerge, it borrowed symbols from older traditions, including the peacock. The bird came to represent the resurrection and eternal life of Christ, a theme often echoed in early Christian and Byzantine art. You can also see the peacock in the art throughout the medieval period and the Renaissance. Every spring, the male peacock regrows its tail feathers, a cycle of renewal that parallels the themes of resurrection. It is said that India is the birthplace of the peacock. The bird became a symbol of royalty and power. It's a national bird of India and holds significance in both Hinduism and Islam. In the realm of alchemical symbolism, the peacock holds an interesting, unique place. The peacock's tail, or Gauda Pavanis, represents a specific stage in the alchemical process. This is the point where a blackened substance gives way to a display of colors, similar to the iridescent tail of a peacock. This stage is considered a sign of hope and progression towards the ultimate stages of the great work, the creation of the Philosopher's Stone. This concept was often depicted symbolically in alchemical illustrations, many of which are laden with esoteric and allegorical meaning. There's this really interesting piece called the Peacock Stage, attributed to Georg Breu the Elder, a German artist from the early 16th century. This painting, like many others, presents the peacock within a flask, further connecting the bird to the transformative process of alchemy. Now we move on to the book Amphitheatrum Sapientiae Aeternae, 1609. and this is a fascinating text on alchemy. We left it for later because it's quite symbolic. It was written by Heinrich Kunrath, and he even mentions the homunculus. Heinrich Kunrath, 1560 to 1605, was a German alchemist, physician, and hermetic philosopher. He's best known for his work Amphitheatrum Sapientiae Aeternae, translated into Amphitheater of Eternal Wisdom, which was first published in 1595 and later expanded in 1609. So there's some really crazy stuff in here. To begin, the most famous depiction of the emerald tablets is from this book. Many of you have seen these engravings. The emerald tablet, also known as the Smaragdine table or Tabula Smaragdina, is a compact and cryptic piece of hermetic literature that has fascinated scholars and alchemists for centuries. It is said to contain the secrets of the art of alchemy and the foundation of hermetic philosophy. The emerald tablet is written as a series of aphorisms, which are brief statements expressing a general truth or principle. Its opening line sets the stage for the profound wisdom contained within the text. Quote, "True it is without falsehood, certain and most true. That which is above is like to that which is below, and that which is below is like to that which is above, to accomplish the miracles of one thing." End quote. The first lines of the Emerald Tablet emphasize the concept of correspondence, stating that the macrocosm, the universe or larger scale, and the microcosm, the individual or smaller scale, are interconnected and reflect each other. This idea is commonly summarized in the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below. This principle can be explained in that higher forces, such as the astral, have a direct relationship with that which is below, the physical, similar to a mirror. The higher planes can be manipulated, and so will a reflection, the material world. This also could be seen as the inner and outer worlds, the outer being the exterior physical world we inhabit, and the inner being the psyche. The cryptic Hermetic Emerald Tablet was highly regarded by Islamic and European alchemists, and they used these principles as a foundation for their occult symbols and images. Here's a quote from the bottom of the Emerald Tablet that's in the engraving from the Amphitheatrum book. The bottom paragraph of the tablet says, quote, "When thinking about nature of things and raising the mind's action to the heavenly, with the body's senses now asleep, as usually happens to those who are suddenly seized by sleep due to fullness or fatigue, I seemed to see someone of immense size, who called me by my name and cried out in this way. 'What is it, O Mercury, that you desire to hear and discover? What is it that you want to learn and understand?' Then I said, 'Who are you?' 'Pymander,' he replied, 'the divine power and wisdom, and see what you want.' 'I want to learn the nature of things and know God,' I said. To this, he said, 'Embrace me with your mind, and I will teach you all things you desire.' After saying this, he changed his form and suddenly revealed everything." End quote. On the next page, there's a tower at the top that says, "Porta Amphitheatra Sapiente Aeternae Solvis Verdi," the gate of the amphitheater of eternal wisdom of the only truth. I'd assume that this is a metaphor for this book, as it reveals secret truths. In the foreground, there is a man worshipping a tiny cross with a skull and a flower in the front. That would mean something else is going on here. There's a man in the back behind this with a robe, so secret societies? Okay, but the weird thing is that there seems to be a bunch of eggs on this boat in the foreground at the bottom left. So these oarsmen are eggs? Or is this a symbol that they were born of an egg? So what's going on in these last two engravings? Well, if we go back to the Emerald Tablet depiction, this is an ancient massive tablet, and the entire environment is in ruins. This doesn't look like a mountain, but ruins. Is this knowledge from an ancient time, and then some cataclysm occurred? We do see this guy on his knees praying to the sky. But that's not all. This next page is absolutely mind-blowing. It shows a massive star fort being used outside a city for the purpose of an occult alchemical ritual. Wait, so is this what they were using star forts for? Also notice how the Emerald Tablet is in the center. So wait, were they using ancient star forts as a means for charging some type of massive event? Look at Azoth on top, or the Arabian serpent biting its own tail. This entire thing is an alchemical device. There are 7 points, and he even says the homunculus right here. It says, quote, "The false philosophical homunculus, through the assistance of an evil familiar spirit, brings despair." Wait, so that would mean that it isn't a philosophical homunculus, because then how would it bring despair? And what is the context? He's saying don't use spirits that are misaligned or evil, or it will bring despair in the creation of a real homunculus. Look at the alchemical vases around this occult star fort. And are those power pyramids with light bulbs glowing? This is 1609, so what's going on here? Is this proving that some type of technology was used in the creation of a homunculus? And this also kind of connects with Full Metal Alchemist. Now on page 23, there's a zodiac celestial representation with a sperm and a child merged in the shape of a cross. It's actually a pentagram too. Below this, we see an egg with wings. There's also an alchemical lab in this book, and it's very detailed. This is no ordinary lab hidden in the basement. This is a royal palace chamber, and this guy's set up with everything he needs. Look at the chimney section. There's a coat of arms with the hidden knight. There's even an evocation tent where he can summon the spirits needed. This is basically his ChatGPT, where he gets the answers to whatever he questions. Quote, "Fortunate is the one to whom good counsel is given." So he's obviously getting some type of advice. We see a wide variety of vases and alchemical vases, all labeled and prepared for the alchemist. There's really a lot in this book, but to finish off, page 35, we see rings containing the stone, which is ancient in origin. There are 10 flames, 33 inscribed on the stone, so Freemason symbols. Then we see demons defecating, hybrids, rabbit people. And then on page 37, there's an owl holding a cross and 2 flames. This kinda connects to Promised Neverland. So there are many strange alchemical visions, some of them that didn't really make it into their own sections, but here are a couple that are just very weird. There's the Figurarum Egyptiatorium Secretum. From the 15th to the 17th century, it shows a Rosicrucian bird in the creation of a homunculus, an androgynous bird, which is also the same as the double-headed eagle on coat of arms. In this fountain image, we see the same blue silverous figures from earlier, and there are 9 of them. From the 16th century of Ramon Lull, there's an alchemical page that shows babies of multiple colors being grown from a tree in a fountain, and there are priests at the top watching over. On the bottom is a king, and the right Adam. Is this his new body? Petrus Bonus, also known as Peter Bonus, was an Italian alchemist who lived in the 14th century, with his most famous work being Preziosa Margherita Novella, the New Pearl of Great Price, written around 1330. It provides a comprehensive overview of the theory, practice, and spiritual aspects of alchemy, including the preparation of the Philosopher's Stone. In his work, there's a mansion section. The text describes a scene where a king is seated on a throne, wearing a diadem and holding a scepter, symbolizing his power. His son and 5 servants, wearing different colored robes, kneel before the king and ask him to share his power with them. However, the king does not respond to their request. Following this scene, the son is incited by the servants to stab his father as he sits on the throne. Then the text suggests making an amalgam with highly purified water. Is he talking about the aqua of the alchemist? We continue. In this additional excerpt, the text provides a series of allegorical mansions that describe a transformative process. Here's the breakdown. The son catches the father's blood in his robe, representing the second process of their art. A grave is dug in the furnace, indicating a stage of transformation. The son intends to throw the father into the grave, but both fall in together, suggesting a union of elements. The son tries to get out, but another figure prevents him, indicating a containment of the transformation. The father and son experience putrefaction in the tomb, representing a stage of decomposition and change. The putrefaction is inspected in the 8th mansion. The bones are taken from the tomb, symbolizing the extraction of the essence. Then the bones are divided and undergo a purification process. Angels are sent to cast the bones on purified earth indicating a divine intervention or a more advanced stage in the process. The servants pray for the king's restoration, marking a shift towards rebirth. A series of angels place parts of the bones on the earth, resulting in color changes that signify stages of the transformation. Then, the king rises from the tomb with a spiritual and heavenly body, symbolizing rebirth and the completion of the transformation process. The Pretiosissimum Donum Dei, or the most precious gift of God, is a significant early alchemical work containing a series of 12 illustrations. It has over 60 manuscripts, with the earliest dating back to the 15th century. It's a very strange text that shows the different stages within the vessel. It discusses the necessity of combining two bodies to create the elixir, which is capable of healing all infirmities and converting imperfect metals into gold. The process of alchemy described in the Donum Dei involves several stages, beginning with the dissolution of bodies into argent vive or quicksilver. This is followed by the formation of black earth, which is then dissolved into water and transformed into oil, referred to as the oil of philosophers. There's even a depiction that shows the androgynous being forming within a flask. The black earth is eventually turned white, symbolizing the elixir for the white, which can transform imperfect bodies into pure silver. The final stage involves the conversion of the whiteness into a transparent redness like a ruby, representing the elixir for the red, which can transform imperfect bodies into pure gold. The Rosarium Philosophorum, or Rosary of the Philosophers, is a 16th century alchemical treatise that has been widely influential in chemistry, medicine, philosophy, psychology, art, music, and literature. Its primary aims are the transmutation of metals, ultimately into gold, and the creation of the elixir or medicine, also known as the quintessence or the philosopher's stone, which has the power to perfect all people or objects it touches. The manuscript features various stages of the alchemical process, including the preparation of the prima materia, the conjunction of solar and lunar elements, and the demonstration of perfection. This text also incorporates Christian imagery, such as the crowning of the Virgin Mary and the resurrection, merging spiritual and alchemical themes. Then there's a tree sprouting a spirit that ascends to higher planes. This one's crazy. We see Mary as a priest getting burned, but it's actually her being dissolved, and her blood is being extracted into the cell from multiple sperm-like shapes. Oh, and this is weird. Did you know that there's a world record involving the largest homunculus? It's credited to a historical figure in the 16th century named Count Johann Ferdinand von Kufstein. This record is supposed to be the record for the largest one, supposedly getting to a height of 30 centimeters tall. The stranger part about this story is that supposedly very notable figures such as Count Franz Joseph von Thun and Count Max Lamberg came to visit these homunculi. It wasn't just one, but it seems that Count Johann created 10 homunculi. Allegedly, 8 were physical and 2 were spirit form that could be summoned after muttering Hebrew words. One was red and the other was the color blue. At one point, one of the physical homunculus actually tried to escape its jar, but then died after being exposed to air. In a book called The Sphinx, edited by Dr. Emil Besensny, we find some interesting accounts in regarding to the number of spirits generated by Kufstein. It would seem that the Masons were highly interested in these manuscripts, and these accounts come from the diary of Jos Kammerer, who was the butler to von Kufstein. The 10 homunculi, referred to as prophesying spirits, were created by Count J.F. of Kufstein and also Italian mystic Abbe Geloni. Stored in fruit-preserving bottles filled with water, they included a king, queen, knight, monk, nun, architect, miner, seraph, and 2 colored spirits. And listen to this, sealed with ox bladders and a magic symbol. These 1 span long spirits swam in the bottles, and the Count desired that they would grow further. The homunculi were buried under 2 cartloads of horse manure and sprinkled daily with a specially prepared liquid made by the adepts from repulsive materials. This caused fermentation and steaming as if heated from beneath. Every 3 days, the 2 gentlemen would visit the pile at night to pray and fumigate it. After removing from the manure, the homunculi had grown to about 1.5 spans, with the males developing beards and long nails. Abigiloni provided them with the clothing suitable for their roles. The bottles containing the red and blue spirits appeared to hold only clear water. But when the abbey knocked thrice and spoke Hebrew words, the water changed color and the spirits' faces emerged. The blue spirit had an angelic face, while the red one's expression was terrifying. The homunculi were fed every 3 to 4 days with a rose-colored substance given in pea-sized pills. Their water was changed weekly, except for the blue spirit, which required no sustenance or water change. The red spirit received a thimbleful of animal blood each week that disappeared without altering the water. Quote, "By some accident, the glass containing the monk fell one day upon the floor and was broken. The poor monk died after a few painful respirations, in spite of all the efforts of the count to save his life, and his body was buried in the garden. An attempt to generate another one made by the count without the assistance of the abbey, who had left, resulted in failure, as it produced only a small thing like a leech, which had very little vitality and soon died." End quote. You know, all this information brings to question hybrid creatures from myth, or even the demons depicted on the Last Judgment. If it's true that the ancients thoroughly explored how to create artificial beings and the spontaneous generation of animals, who's to say that these experiments didn't go further, and that some of these creatures were actually created by the alchemist? There's a strange set of engravings in a book called The Cabinets of Curiosities, Wunderturnierl der Natur by Levinus Vincent. They say he was just a collector of small animals and seashells, but also artificialia, which resemble the homunculus of the alchemists. There are also occult symbols in this book, such as hybrid creatures, and a man holding a hive pointing to the shells next to him filled with various jars. This brings to question the monstrous races of Christianity, such as the headless men or the blemmies. There are many different kinds, but countless historical figures considered these beings to truly exist. They are a part of Christian mythology, and they are categorized into different races. At first, it seems kind of like imagination, but now in the right context, these images sort of look like some messed up genetic experiment. The guy with the one leg and massive foot is called the monopod. And sure, some of these do seem symbolic, as with the one with the androgynous being, but some of these may actually be physical depictions of creatures that were created from the secret practice of alchemy. Then, there was a period where these creatures needed to be all wiped out. That's why we see Alexander the Great fighting them. Now we need to discuss an aspect that has been ignored but alluded to throughout the video. There are some authors throughout history that do believe the alchemists were seeking gold, but not physical gold, a spiritual gold, and that specifically, this was a metaphor for creating the body of light. Two things can be true at the same time, as it's most likely that both physical and occult interpretations are a part of one thing. We need to discuss the occult double. The best author on this subject for people just getting started is Unveiled, as he breaks it down in an easy to understand fashion. He does speak on the homunculus, but he believes it to be a metaphor for what we're about to discuss. Everyone knows of dreams, and by now, everyone has heard of the concept of becoming lucid in one's dream. It's not just a made-up fantasy, and it does happen to people naturally or on random occasions. But if one was to look into how to pursue these matters and increase the frequency in which they occur, meaning the ability to wake in one's dreams, it would seem that the techniques developed are dependent on the occult and hermetic tradition, specifically astral projection. This is because lucid dreaming is something that you don't typically control unless you have a natural talent for it. But most of the time they happen by accident, or in other words, there's no training necessary. However, the ancients figured out that through mystic practices, meditations, and thought exercises, that they could directly influence not only lucid dreams, but open an entirely new world. These exercises include silencing the mind, mastering or focusing on the individual elements, and the skill to focus on one single thought for an extended amount of time. There are no demon, spirits, or witchcraft required. Although simple, these skills actually allow you to navigate the mind in a way that we were never taught. And this is one of the secrets of the occult orders. It's that essentially, they have techniques in which they can astral project and have meetings. This is what the Sabbath is and what witches have been doing for centuries. Shared dreams are possible, and the ancients were aware of this, which would explain how so much has been lost, as there's a whole other plane of existence that we're not aware of because we have never been taught the methods to train our higher senses, and our entire culture promotes the indulgence of our physical senses. So, we're stuck ignoring these higher forces unless we practice, then we can start to remember these higher senses. Dreams are you naturally leaving your body every night and exploring your psyche. But there are limitations and/or boundaries. Once you begin to develop this skill or astral projection, you'll be able to travel freely. But what happens is, you begin to realize that the astral phenomena can be influenced by your will. Not only this, but in some cases, certain characters have different levels of intelligences. Some are NPCs, but there are other characters that seem to possess more intelligence than you. There are several books on the nature of the astral plane, including the astral plane, its scenery, inhabitants, and phenomena. This is not a full breakdown on the different planes or techniques, but I did want to provide some context so that we can better understand how this applies to the homunculus. Well, one of the techniques for astral projection is known as the body of light method. This technique takes the skills acquired from meditating on each element and you are to combine them into one source. So you have to literally do mental alchemy, which would require focus for your vision to be clear without distraction. In certain mental states, this is more vivid, and it becomes an experience that becomes your new reality. You forget what you were doing and become the thing that you are doing. The subject meets the object. And as you do this, you are to still transfer consciousness without disturbing the flow, so that you have a lucid dream, which is much easier said than done. Once this is established, you are meditating, you merge subject and object, meaning you forgot what you were doing, but you're in a dream and still focused on what you were doing. In this state, you can begin to manipulate forms more easy or visualize with a clear precision. Then, you are to craft a body of light out of these elements. With practice, one can actually build an astral form to become whatever the alchemist desires. It can be a hybrid creature, set with the intent for protecting the house, but that would be a creation of a separate astral entity. For astral projection, your body of light is supposed to be your vehicle for exploring the astral realm without losing consciousness or having to force a lucid dream through trick methods that wake you up after falling asleep. The body of light is the Merkaba in which you can travel through different planes. This connects to the homunculus because your body of light is a homunculus. You can use your homunculus as a vehicle, and or if you leave the body of light on its own, like Paracelsus said, it becomes a giant or a mystical being. In this context, the new astral body of light, without a host, will go on to become its own intelligence if left out in the wild, resulting in a transformation into one of the elementals, most likely the element that is most focused based on the user's personality. This body of light can be created indirectly through trauma or intense emotions, so it happens naturally. For these as well can grow and become their own intelligences. One such example is the tulpa. Another version of the body of light method, which is not particularly as occult but a simple visualization exercise, is to practice imagining as if it was an augmented reality game where your imagined visual from your inner mind needs to overlay with reality, with your eyes open. You are to sit down and imagine a mirror image of yourself sitting in front of you. You can practice with an actual mirror if you want to. At first, it should feel like it's really just coming from in your head, your imagination. But over time, with practice, you can actually project this visual to the point where you forget what you were doing and the subject merges with the object. And in this state, your visuals will overlay more clearly. If you have no fear, you can practice in a darker room with dim candle lights. Not to be occult or anything, but it's that artificial and bright lights alter this ability. The visuals become far more vivid in this scenario, and even with just a few hours of practice, you can start seeing some weird things. In some stories, it's possible for this mirror reflection to begin speaking with you, which will serve as a means for connecting deep with the psyche, another ChatGPT. But it's said that over time, if this being is constantly used or misabused, that it begins to develop dark and demonic traits, very similar to the homunculus trope. This can vary from user to user depending on what is occurring internally, but the practice of developing these higher senses for exploring the mind with clear visuals is crucial to this practice. The ability to explore the astral realm and create forms, which is different because it feels as if you're in a realistic environment. Then, the ability to move consciousness into different bodies and or create astral forms with their own intelligences. These are all a part of the secret science of the creation of a homunculus. So now, let's take a look at a translated full Liber VACCAE. Before, we were just looking at the papers on the subject. I want to thank Juan for finding this book and sending it over. Without him, I wouldn't have found this book as it was extremely difficult to find. From there, I used the best OCR tools to extract the text and then feed it into GPT-4. Keep in mind that this text in no way, shape, or form is to serve as a final translation, but only as a base, as we have not had expert Latin translators review the text yet. However, I do want to note that just because the text is not 100% accurate, and with some names and objects there may be some mistranslation, but overall, because we have different snippets of the text from different papers and authors, there's definitely something in this Latin text found in a medicine book from the 16th century. It is in the Montpellier Inter-University Library, Medicine Section H277, and there are several other important alchemical texts as well, including the Secrets of Secrets. Now it's not perfect, and we are not translators, but GPT-4 is perhaps the best Latin translator as of yet, and the reason is because it understands context and how to correct for errors. For example, Google Translate or DeepL will not correct OCR errors or character swaps like with the F for S or the V for U in some cases. There are some very fascinating things to gain from this translated text. With that, there are several warnings throughout the text as GPT felt certain areas were hard to translate, so it's letting you know when those areas are. It is a handwritten text, so it's not perfect by any means. The text begins, "In the name of Christ, all blessings be upon this book of the institutions of the actions of the furnace, in which the human child lives by the law of Labac. Receive to dwell with perpetual residence this book of the placation of the philosopher and doctor, the great book of institutions, amplified and finished. And it opened to him the understanding of what he intended, and so much was it well accomplished in him that it was delightful to him and converted his and their minds and hearts, and he did good with the knowledge of the order of providing explanations for the book of the Platonic works. Those who are able to understand the gifts up to that point, when they are closed with clarity, they themselves will open it when they wish and close it as well. The place where they stand and say that it exists is where my actions and theirs are involved. I can also adapt and close it with their understanding and their actions, where they are prepared for the closure of their understanding. They intend to ask about it in a small way. They are involved in their own actions and closures. The entire age seeks the protection of the clamor for the existence of the divine. The two brothers, known to me and my soul, withdrew from it and did not take part in it. They received it in the same way and declined it, as it should be for the removal of the veil. They spread it out and prepared it for export, and they were tired. The human work of the great men of the world, they made their own body and their own work labor, and they made the books of the place and the preparations of the leaders in the pursuit of knowledge and labor in the experience of the books and the translation of permission of these books. The books that were given to the saints are now given to their encouragement. Their fatigue in their service to the Lord after others, they do not know where they are or what they are doing with them. The wise man Galenus, a friend of Philip, and his fellow man, who turned after them and sought to approach them, allowed them to give up the book or books of their knowledge. The ignorance and defense of their intellects, the more they become intelligent, the more they confess that they lack the understanding of their own actions. Now, I will not test so much the book of our knowledge, but I will seek the understanding of the wise man Philip Galenus. I will go with him to the investigations and the sacred appearances, so that what is hidden and unknown becomes clear and open, and through the divine assistance, the human salvation is achieved. Philip did not neglect his book, nor did he abandon it after this time, but he returned to his own work. The great work of Plato is not done through it except for your kingdom, which you have and have always had. The entrance and exit of so many works, the creation of the heavens and the craftsmanship of the stars, the knowledge of the constellations and the sacred order of the heavens, do not doubt their truth. They do not falsify it, and they have already justified their cause for it. Why do they deny the knowledge and dismiss the truth of their works, when they are not the first or the last? They do not cease to seek the truth, even if they do not find it in the secular or the ancient. The saints, through their teachings, have increased their knowledge and returned to the truth and falsified the others. They have advanced with their wisdom and their lesser knowledge, and they have not been allowed to approach and participate in the divine work. If they were wise, they would not abandon their knowledge and their teachings, but they would understand the secrets and the hidden things, the great and the small, and they would make them known to themselves and to others, in the night and in the day, in the presence of the ultimate and the disciples. The hours themselves and every moment of their dissolution, the secret knowledge of the sun's power is sought. In the depths of their being, they find the essence of life and the secrets of the universe. In the midst of this journey, they encounter the waters and the paths of the trees. When the time comes for their transformation in the adaptation of their colors, the trees' movements during their walk lead them to certain places where they form connections with other beings, both human and non-human. These beings, named by forces of nature, possess gifts that they share with those who are able to establish a connection with them. Among these gifts are the fires and eternal lighting that illuminate and reveal the hidden aspects of existence. Over these forces, certain beings hold dominion, and they manifest in various forms, some of which are beyond human understanding. These beings are able to change their forms and adapt to the needs of those who seek their assistance. They possess knowledge of the earth and its elements, and they have the power to heal and protect. They can also bestow abilities upon those who are worthy, allowing them to accomplish feats that would otherwise be impossible. In this realm of existence, these are beings who are neither good nor evil, but rather serve as agents of balance in the natural order of things. They can be called upon to assist in various tasks and challenges, but their allegiance is not guaranteed and must be earned through acts of devotion and respect. There is a stone of great power, known as the carbuncle, which can illuminate even the darkest night. It is said that those who possess this stone can gain access to hidden knowledge of the earth and its inhabitants. The stone is not easily found, and its true nature can only be revealed through a series of trials and tests. In their quest for the carbuncle, the seekers must traverse a dark and treacherous landscape, filled with perils and unknown dangers. They must rely on their wits, their courage, and their connection to the forces of nature to guide them through these trials. At the end of their journey, the seekers will find the carbuncle, and with it, the knowledge and power that they seek. But this power comes with a responsibility, for it must be used wisely and with care. The forces of nature are not to be trifled with, and those who would abuse their gifts will find themselves facing the wrath of the elements. In the white vat, let there be a mixture of good, diverse herbs, and enough earth with some dew from the sun of the siblings and all stones. And if you made more, add it to the nearby flesh with a binding, so that it becomes a vessel for a month. On that night, Eliabim will teach the sun the secret knowledge of the mixture, in which the essence will remain hidden. Carefully extract the form from the absent ones and mix it when the time is right. Take the first layer and mix it with blood and dew, and if it happens, pour it out of the man himself, so the form and stability remains. Let it be a firm base, whether from the sheep or the calcinide ashes from which the prepared mixture flows. And if it doesn't work, inflame the mixture with heat and form an iron crucible. If you break it, make it firm and feed it within the mixture itself, so that it lasts for days and nourishes the child. Let it sit and not mix with anything else, and not reveal its secret except by consuming it after a few days and heating it. When it is completely mixed, take it with your hands and feet and spread it on the ground. In a distant place, let it lie in a wide and tall structure. This act will produce an explanation, allowing the growth of plants. If this is done, it will bring forth water from the deep and mix it with the dew. Do this for the rational soul of another and let it rise to the heavens with grace at the hour of departure. Accept it in your hand and let it be with you. Afterward, place the stone in the sun and let it begin to dissolve. Add acid to the solution, and when the time of separation comes, take it in your hand. Do not fear, for the result will be lines of powerful knowledge. Use it as a remedy for all ailments, and it will be effective. Place it near the roots of a tree called arbor, and let it absorb the essence. Take the sap from the tree and use it to make a powerful medicine. Combine it with the blood of a dead animal and mix it with fire, water, and earth to create a powerful potion. This medicine will heal many diseases and give life to those who consume it. Take the potion, and after purification, let it sit in the sun for several days. Eventually, it will take on a new form and its power will be revealed. Use this knowledge wisely and with great care, for its secrets can bring great power or terrible destruction. First, concerning what is said about the creation of the cow and the manner in which the elements are mixed with water and placed in a small container. Remember the stone of the sun and gather it in a glass vessel. Then, take the white of the moon and mix it with a little of the great and necessary substance. Bind it with the hair and fragments of the animal and place it in a dark house where the light of the moon does not disturb it. Protect it with a certain stone so that no harm comes to it, and let it remain there for several days. After this time, take the wings of a bee, the leaves of the heliotrope plant, and the leaves of the mandrake, and place them on the parts of the cow where the leaves of the persimmon and the leaves of the alder touch the ground. Then place the cow in a corner and add a mixture of the ashes and the earth, along with small reptiles and insects. Close the house with a door and let it remain there for a few days. After this time, open the window and let in fresh air. If the cow is still alive, feed it with mixture of honey and ashes. If it is dead, bury it in the ground and cover it with a layer of earth. After 3 days, dig it up and place it in a new location, surrounded by the remains of bees and other insects, and do not let it be disturbed by anyone or anything. In this way, you've created the cow, and it will be able to perform its miraculous task. It will be able to transform itself into various shapes and forms. It will be able to heal and protect those who are in need. It will also be able to create fire and light, and it will be able to communicate with the spirits of the earth and the heavens. To accomplish this, you must also create a special talisman made from the bones of a lion and the feathers of a bird. This talisman should be inscribed with powerful symbols and placed in a secret location where it will be protected from harm. When the time's right, you will be able to use this talisman to summon the cow and perform great feats of magic and alchemy. In addition to the talisman, you will also need to create a special potion made from the hairs of a horse's mane and the leaves of a certain plant. This potion should be applied to the cow's body, and it will enable it to perform its miraculous task. It will also protect the cow from harm and ensure that it remains strong and healthy. Finally, you must also create a special incantation which will be used to summon the cow and control its actions. This incantation should be written in a secret language known only to you and a select few others. When the time is right, you will be able to use this incantation to call upon the cow and command it to do your bidding. Thus, by following these instructions and performing these tasks, you will be able to create the legendary cow and harness its incredible powers for your own purposes. In the white container, let there be incense and a good amount of various mixtures, along with a little bit of the sun's sand and all of the stones, and when you have made more, add them to the nearby flesh. Let that mixture last for a month, and during the night, you will learn the secret. In the formula where the mixture was, the result will be cautious. Extract the form in the absence of others and combine it, as when you remove this first layer. Receive the form and prepare it with the help of the man himself, and establish it in a permanent form, whether it is of a sheep or a calcined form. If you then manage to create this permanent form and nourish it, divide it into the parts that are needed over several days, and let it not be mixed with any other substance. After several days, the substance will be exhausted and you will need to warm it up. In this process, you will use 3 legs, and with the help of the feet, you will prepare the soil for the half of the earth's surface. If you do this, you'll be able to use the parts of the tree named arbor and the habra tree, which will provide the substance for the entire tree. The substances will be tested and mixed with the heart of the tree and the liquid from the horse's stomach, and the result will be a powerful medicine. Place the mixture near a tree where it will catch the dew and be exposed to the sun. Afterward, apply it to the tree's wounds and the tree will heal. If you can capture the snakes and the large worms of the north, you will obtain a powerful substance. Mix it with the earth to create a solid foundation. You will have a remedy for many illnesses. In the dark of the night, the moon will shine brightly. Then, the substances will be mixed together to create a powerful formula. When you combine them with the earth, you will see incredible things that cannot be explained by magic alone. With the help of Saint Bertie, you will create a strong mixture with the earth and the ashes from the fire. Afterward, you will let it cool and expose it to the sun, and the result will be a potent medicine that can cure many diseases. In the end, you will collect the remaining substances and use them to create a powerful remedy which will heal various wounds and ailments. Of the 2 palms, hide our knowledge and send it to the monastery where the wise gather and discuss the secrets of alchemy. On the back of a black hair, write your findings and bring them to the gathering place. There, the wise will study and debate the nature of the hidden knowledge. In this book, you'll find the secrets of alchemy and the methods to create powerful substances. Be cautious, for the power contained within these pages is immense and can be dangerous and misused. If you follow the instructions and combine the elements correctly, you will create a potion that can heal any ailment. However, if you make a mistake, the consequences could be disastrous. Take the water in which you have sanctified the sacred elements and mix it with the ash from the sacred fire. Then, place it in a dark room where the sun's rays do not shine. After a time, a miraculous substance will form, and with it you can perform wonders. When the time comes, feed the substance to the sick, and they will be cured of their ailments. But be careful, for if you give them too much, they can become addicted to its power. In the dark room, you will also find the ingredients to create a potion that can grant the drinker the ability to see the unseen. Take this potion and share it with those who seek the truth, but be wary of those who would use it for evil purposes. Remember, the secrets of alchemy are powerful and not meant for the uninitiated. Treat this knowledge with respect and share it only with those who have proven themselves worthy. That seems to be GPT-4 advice. We continue. And so, many of them diligently perform this chapter either by name or by their own sanctity. Their knowledge has come to us, which is pleasing to the community of men. They made this chapter with the assistance of spirits, famous and well guarded. With them, you will know the secret and pass it on to others. Swear by divine authority, by the laws and their errors, and the tablets of the house of wisdom, which are established by the order of the wise and those who pray and work. In this way, they have the power and knowledge of the tablets, divided into 2 parts, from which they learn and save the thundering universe, and the divine prices of the angels who were summoned by the highest power to bind and release all things, and to give and to take away. They share equally in the reward and punishment, and are assigned to this work according to their abilities in the will of the spirits. Then, with the completion of the water, they work together with the spirits to create life in the alchemical elixir. They mix it with various ingredients, invoking the protection of the divine and the knowledge of the wise. They perform their work in secret, and when it's finished, they give thanks to the divine, their Father, and to the spirits who have guided them. They share their knowledge with others, teaching them the secrets of alchemy and the mysteries of the universe. In this way, they became masters of the art, and their fame spread far and wide. They are sought after their wisdom and their ability to heal and transform. They work tirelessly, day and night, to protect their craft and to serve their fellow men. And so, the legacy of their knowledge is passed down through generations, from master to apprentice, from one age to the next. In this book, we find the secrets of the wise, the knowledge of the divine, and the mysteries of the universe. In the beginning, a powerful force created a balance, sitting it on its heels, and set forth a path for the wanderers. From the fields, the light came forth, joining forces with the mysterious Al-Grubaline. In time, the sacred heart solidified in the void, awakening through the energies of the ancient Magi. Levi, who dwelt in the heavens, brought forth an abundance of knowledge and power from the sun and the earth. The sacred F, hidden in the shadows, provided guidance and protection for those who sought their path. In the days of the old, the wise ones would gather the essence of the heavens and the earth, mixing them with the sacred waters to create powerful elixirs. These elixirs could grant great abilities, healing the sick and bestowing gifts upon the worthy. The alchemists would work tirelessly, refining their techniques and seeking the ultimate truth. In their quest, they discovered the secrets of the elements, the power of transformation, and the mysteries of the universe. They learned to harness the energies of the cosmos, bending them to their will and shaping them to wondrous creations. Through their art, they brought forth new life, new hope, and new understanding. But with great power came great responsibility, and the wise ones knew that their knowledge could be used for both good and evil. They guarded their secrets closely, ensuring that only the worthy would have access to their wisdom. They established a sacred order dedicated to preserving the balance between light and darkness. In times of need, the chosen ones would gather, sharing their knowledge and power to overcome these challenges that faced them. They would stand united, a beacon of hope in a world of uncertainty. And through their efforts, the light would prevail, driving back the shadows and ensuring the survival of all. This is a legacy of the ancient alchemists, the guardians of the sacred truths. Brand, in his secret writings, speaks of all the hidden things and discourses of them, saying that from the mixture of certain elements, a substance can be created. This substance, when combined with the power of words and rituals, will radiate light that can transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. To achieve this, one must follow the instructions laid out in the Book of the Cow. First, take the weight of 50 days of labor and mix it with the 7 days of pure thought and contemplation. From this mixture, create a substance that can be used to anoint the body of a man so that he may see and communicate with the spirits of wisdom. This anointing should be done on the 9th day, at the threshold of a door, either in the morning or evening, depending on the desired outcomes. Next, gather the ingredients necessary for the creation of a powerful talisman. These include the bones of saints, the ashes of burned sacred text, and the hairs of a great magician. Combine these items with the blood of 2 men, take it in equal measure, and then bury the resulting mixture in the ground for a period of time, typically during a holy day. After this time has passed, dig up the mixture and carefully combine it with the anointing substance created earlier. Apply this new compound to the body of the man who has been anointed, and he will gain the power to see and communicate with the spirits of wisdom. He will also gain the ability to influence the thoughts and actions of others, as well as to control the elements and the forces of nature. To ensure that this power is used wisely, the man must also undergo a series of tests and trials, designed to strengthen his character and prove his worthiness. These tests may include physical challenges, mental puzzles, and moral dilemmas, all of which must be overcome in order to gain the full benefits of this magical substance. Once the man has successfully completed these trials, he will be transformed into a being of great power and wisdom, able to shape the world around him according to his will. He will be able to heal the sick, raise the dead, and even create new life from the elements themselves. However, he must always remember that with great power comes great responsibility, and he must use his newfound abilities for the betterment of mankind, rather than for personal gain or selfish desires. Well, if you want to name what everyone knows or what they have learned today, it will be prepared, and it was given to them by the angels through the land. The book was sent to me with the angels, and the heavens revealed it. It is said that if you follow these instructions, you will be able to achieve the desired result. This will lead to the work that must be done, and the mixture of substances will be prepared at night. In this place, men will face the challenges that have been predicted. The sacred words are spoken, and the forces are gathered. When the time comes, the fire will be lit, and the process will begin. The alchemist will prepare the vessel and the divine substances. The mixture will be created with various elements, including minerals and plants. The whole process will be done in secret, away from the eyes of men. If everything is done correctly, the result will be a powerful and transformative substance. The alchemist will then take this substance and apply it to the chosen object. The object will be placed in a hidden location, and a ritual will be performed. The ritual will involve the use of sacred wood and fire. The object will be left in this location for a set number of days, after which it will be retrieved. The alchemist will then continue with the next step of the process. the alchemist will take the object to a secluded place and perform another ritual. This time, the ritual will involve the use of water and the invocation of powerful forces. The object will be submerged in water, and the alchemist will drink from this water. The water will have absorbed the power of the object, and the alchemist will gain this power. The final stage of this process will involve the creation of a new substance, one that has the power to bring great change. This substance will be carefully prepared and applied to the object. The alchemist will then wait for the desired result, which may take some time to manifest. The Book of the Cow begins with the preparation of the bones and the bile, and the use of the feathers of the Abigail bird. All these elements are combined and placed under the protection of Fuberto. The bones are then buried with equal parts of earth and stone under the guidance of the white stone of Lenai. The book continues with the story of Louisco, the son of Lagadai, who was known for his mastery of alchemy. He works with wood and other materials, such as sabella, to create powerful substances. These substances are then combined with antimony and water, resulting in a talc-like mixture. The alchemist then uses this mixture to create a powerful substance called Falun, which can control the movements of celestial bodies. This substance is used in various magical practices, such as summoning spirits and demons and controlling the elements. The book also contains instructions for creating a special incense, which is used to communicate with spirits and demons. This incense is made from various ingredients, including sulfur, and is burned in a specific location to achieve the desired results. The book goes on to discuss the importance of understanding the celestial bodies and their influence on the world. The alchemist must study the stars and their movements in order to harness their power and use it for their own purposes. The book also contains instructions for creating various magical tools and talismans, which are used to aid the alchemists in their work. These tools include various types of stones, metals, and other materials which are combined and prepared in specific ways to create powerful magical objects. The book concludes with a discussion of the importance of prayer and devotion in the practice of alchemy. The alchemist must maintain a strong connection to the divine and the spiritual world in order to achieve success in their work. Quick note, for some reason GPT-4 decided to conclude these areas. It then said in the next paragraph, please note that there may be errors and inaccuracies in this translation due to the nature of the OCR text provided. We continue. In Book 2, the writing describes the creation of a magical substance using various materials and processes. The text mentions the use of tablets made from the dust of crushed stones, which are then mixed with other ingredients. The mixture is then subjected to various treatments, such as exposure to the elements or being soaked in water or vinegar. The resulting substance is then combined with other materials, such as ashes and clay, and shaped into a specific form. The text then describes a process of burying the object in the ground and leaving it there for a certain number of days. After this period, the object is retrieved and subjected to further treatments, such as exposure to fire or other elements. The entire process is repeated several times, with each repetition intended to increase the potency of the magical substance. In summary, the Book of the Cow contains detailed instructions for the creation of a magical substance using a combination of materials, processes, and rituals. The text is written in an obscure and cryptic style, making it difficult to understand without a deep knowledge of alchemy and the Latin language. It continues, in the name of the Lord, secure and mix it with the ant and make a crane from them, like grain, which is to be carried out and supported on the altar. Prepare the liturgy and be attentive to the divine mystery. Another good thing is to undertake the third part of the mountain. The 4 parts made, not the meadows, the third part of the pass. The execution is beneficial, and the nobles are well served with old wine and honey. The fighters are nourished and grow in strength with food and drink. In the shade, they gather strength and find respite with the fruits and golden plates of the senators. They are satisfied and filled with old wine and cooked meat. They sing praises and prepare the ships for assault on all the mines. They carry out great works and press on the storeroom. The fortified arches and the towers shine with gold and stone, and the walls are well constructed. They complete the great works and cast shadows on the surrounding landscape. The nobles and their followers pass through in procession, and their forms, councils, and signs are recognized by their instruments and appearance. They do not hide anything, nor do they engage in lesser acts. Receive the white helmet and the entire armored suit. Move the small shield and place it in the location where the barking of dogs and the sound of their voices can be heard. Take care of the white eye and open the cooking water. Capture the light and gaze upon it with your own eyes. When the day comes, you will see the magnificence of their eyes, which will grow and prosper. In another vision of hospitality, take 2 eyes of a silo and 2 eyes of a good wood and 2 eyes of fishers. Crush the eyes of the 2 gates and place them for the Arab who came from Egypt. In the shade of the trees, they will find the rest and nourishment. Finish with the humble inheritance in the hermitage and serve them well. Look upon them with your own eyes and use the water of your faithfulness. They will speak with their voices and you will understand their meaning. Take a branch from a tree and make a sign of their power in their works and they will know the way. Please note that this translation may have inaccuracies and may not fully capture the meaning of the original Latin text. There could be room for improvement and I may be unsure about some words or characters. We continue. Enter from that food and praise the work of their hands, 5 palms in water, and from the mixtures of their substances, cut off and from the back the 3rd vein of the force, so that it may be the beginning of the 3rd branch. Cut off the branch and place it in the patient's vein, so that it may be the connection of the bond which you have cut off, so that it may become the maker of the truth. Let that be on the day of the feast of the true sun, sensing nothing but the theme of the Sibyls, to whom every beast is subject, whether it is a donkey, a mule, or a horse, or any other animal that comes to it. Give it in the name of the saints and the sect of the holy, and before the secret initiation. Establish it as a fact of the threefold nature, if it so desires. Infinite wisdom has given our house, from the earth itself and from the honor and sanctity they made offerings in their possessions, greatly celebrating the mysteries. Take the weight of the grave, and from your coffer you will find a part of the secret that the Gagal has prepared. Half of the must have been made, which is equal to the weight of the omitted earth. The operation of the crow is good for the perpetual. The book is pressed. The eclipses are neither greater nor lesser, nor are the horses of the lesser nobility, nor are the firmaments of the book itself. Part of the origin of the pledge of our book and the eclipses themselves. The Apiones were not for us, nor for the affections of others, which is possible and allowed in this, that no one of men may know the root of this house, we have found the lesser, then the justice in the gate, or it may be that it was a matter of religion and the honey of truth, not of the future of the trial until we know ourselves in the practice of our book. But we repent in its place, and then it is shown to us in the place where it is necessary to perish. The female herself, and with what evil knowledge of the rod of men it pertains, and that they may possess all the servants of the private, as many as the poison of all. Now let them approach them. They may know that which is of the wise and the learned, that which they do not serve in the ego, the excuse of that from the acquisition of water, the choice of that which is known in the centuries in the cutlery of prayer, which is unknown to the names of those who are called, the great and the small, that they may labor at the making of that and know the very maker of the gods, and let them make that which is out of this, that which is the effect of the disciples, and with that which goes out of it, the excuse from that, and the greater piety and the difference from that which is the acceptance. Perhaps it is difficult, and through it is not the state in the whole, nor who in the end is in this, the opinion of what is the island, that which is the support of the heart of the workers. And the king, in the end, the honor of this, and I am, after all, the affirmation of the abbot, and the total, as I have opened up, that which precedes the pledge of my books, and it is to be the essence of all the plants that I have passed through the pasture, the state through the making of the face, the mouth, the will to separate the knowledge of the great state and the fruitfulness, the gift of men, the hour before that men may be, and for them, the love of the exalted, the fibit heli, the groans are the great use of the freedom, that in the phlobotomanaceum, the spirit of the divine, then the ethereal, from that day, if by the first, and the creator, the very essence in the shadow of the herbs, then the part of the sun, after that, the preparation of the medicine, receive the suture that is elevated, the holy matter, and when the prayers are in the golden prayer and the exorcism, they are in the station of the whole, after the pose in the palace with the voice of the song, the grains, the chosen ones, with you from the earth, and make the whole for the extension of the earth into those of the future, for them, the earth, the bride, the action, the beginning, and the burial of the ashes, then Call to the east, the cellar, and the whole house under its rule. The cohort of the judge, then the mandate, and make the end of the 8 strong men, the hour, the ascent of the house, the pestle, the servitude, the good, the protection of all the great, and the frenzied one in their studies, or the circles, or the better ones, or the ones who receive others through the food of men, and you, and the communion from you, the abbot, the part of the resurrection of your health, the blessing of the men, not the excuse of the ends and the tables, and the entrance of the other iodine, the sowing of what is born from the earth, and where the elements are, the attraction of the cat, and the hyssop, and from the dry team, before the gift is made, the will of the operation, the seat, and many of them in the house, and the earth of the waters and the brothers, the service of the cohort of them, the nails of the purple, the birth of that, and the good, if God wills it. Know also, the brother, I wanted to sow the seed upon the term, the thousand, the hatred, that which is now known, the section of the matter, the hindrance, and the pain with it. From another direction, the ligature, the persecution of those who hold it in the cookery, lest it perish, that which is in the place of the vinegar, that which is with the E, in this. Then, and, make the oxen so that they are like water from that which is from the sun and the moon, and protect them and combine them. Take the earth which God has given you and do not forget it, but take the earth which you have in the climate and make it the foundation of the camels upon it. Then pour the water from the camels and let it penetrate the fillings of the metals until it's dissolved and placed in a container. However, do this secretly, not before people, for the power of the elements is hidden in this work, bringing health to all. The purification of the elements will make the substances combine and rise together, so that they may pass through the gates of the celestial spheres in a divine manner and move the spirits of the great and the small. Take the essence of the alchemical work and combine it with some pure substance, so that it may create a sign, and then rise them in holy fire, so that all things may be purified and not be destroyed. In the mansions of the spirits, the great and the small shall be made equal, and the horses shall take the essence of the sacred work, which shall be made known by the power of the divine. Take the stone of the philosophers and the tree of life, which is divided into 2 parts, and combine them with cumin and other ingredients, so that a new creation may be born. Let this creation be consecrated and endowed with divine power, like a sacred temple, and let it rise above all things. In this temple, the spirits shall be bound and made subject to the will of the one who has created it. When the time comes, take the eyes of the spirits and the eyes of the angels and bind them together with the bonds of brotherhood, so that they may become one. Then, illuminate them with a divine light and place them before the people, so that they may see the power of the spirits and angels and be transformed into their forms. Take the silver and the gold and let them be made into a vessel, and place within it the blood of the elements and the power of the celestial spheres. In this vessel, the spirits and the angels shall be bound and made to serve the will of the one who has created them. Take the hair of the spirits and the angels and bind them together with the bonds of brotherhood, so that they may become one. Then, illuminate them with the divine light and place them before the people, so that they may see the power of the spirits and the angels and be transformed into their forms. Take the living essence of the elements and let it be made into a human form, and let it be joined with the spirits and the angels, so that it may become one with them. Place this creation in the midst of the people, and they shall be drawn to it, and at night they shall become like the angels and the spirits, and they shall be filled with a divine fire. In this way, the divine power shall be made manifest in the world, and the secrets of creation shall be revealed to all who seek them. Okay, so quick note. This next section was difficult to OCR because of the nature of the handwritten text, so it had a difficult time, but it was letting us know some possible translations. I'll leave it here so you can see. We continue. In their efforts, they created a mixture from the cow and its properties were returned to their original state. Take a vessel and mix it carefully with a certain liquid, then add the white part of the sulfur. Make a strong solution and mix it with water. Pour it over the mixture and let it sit for a while. Then, place it on a stable surface and heat it gently. As it heats, add some water and various substances to the mixture, stirring it carefully. Continue this process until the mixture becomes a solid substance like a stone. In this sacred book, It is written that one should perform the process during the day and not at night, lest it be harmful to the practitioner. Mix the substances carefully and add them to the stone, making sure to write down the process in the book for future reference. Use a special pen made of metal and ink to inscribe the instructions. Add some more substances to the mixture, such as ashes and earth, and mix them thoroughly. Write down the results in the book, making sure to include any observations or discoveries. As the mixture solidifies, it will become a powerful substance that can be used for various purposes. It is also written that one should protect themselves from the harmful effects of the process by wearing protective garments and using special tools. It's important to work in a well-ventilated area and to keep the workspace clean and organized. Once the stone is complete, it can be used to heal, protect, and bring prosperity to the user. It is said that those who possess the knowledge of the sacred book and follow its instructions will be blessed with great power and wisdom. However, it is also warned that those who misuse this knowledge or attempt to use it for evil purposes will suffer terrible consequences. The secrets of this book should be guarded carefully and shared only with those who are worthy of its teachings. In summary, the Book of the Cow is a profound and mysterious text that contains the secrets of alchemy and the creation of a powerful substance. By following its instructions and respecting its teachings, one can unlock the hidden powers of the universe and achieve great wisdom and success. Okay, so that was it. Now I know it's not perfect, but we're fairly positive that that is the Book of the Cow, and it seems to be not that far off, but wow, it's talking about some pretty insane stuff. We're being told these supernatural gifts that come with the creation of a homunculus, the ability to see into the spirit world, but it gets deeper, the ability to conquer the planets and reality itself. Also, the text seems to be using cryptic terms as the creation of the cow. There's no specific term for homunculus used, and/or this may be a translation error. But I just want to make it very clear to people who may not know that much about GPT-4, but there's no way it just made all that up. And if you go try to do the same, it won't even get remotely close to anything like that. Also, we did no editing whatsoever to the output. That was all from the text that was provided in Latin. So this is one of the strangest books ever. And hopefully in the future, we can get Latin translators to assist us in getting a final approved version with no errors. However, some of the things discussed in the book are just insane, including gaining the abilities to read minds and have access to the spirit realm. We can see why such a text would be hoarded, and this isn't the full version. We're seeing a text that was hidden within some massive medicine book, which may have been difficult to find really, a way for keeping certain text hidden. It would seem the homunculus is much deeper than simply a little human in a flask, experimented with by medieval alchemists who most mainstream historians consider to just be imaginative madmen. But we've seen that the foundation of science comes from alchemy, and that many reputable scientists in the early formation of the scientific method were intrigued and fascinated by the concept of the homunculus. It seems that this topic goes further back than just the medieval ages, and that it was an ancient occult ritual practiced by secret occult orders. The homunculus was the greatest secret of not only the alchemists, but perhaps the church, as Jesus himself was a homunculus. This was shown through the ancient knowledge of spontaneous generation and the ancient rituals of generating bees from the carcass of an ox or horse, as with begonia. This was the secret symbol of the ritualistic creation of artificial life. The ancient alchemists used this knowledge to create all sorts of hybrid creatures and monsters, eventually realizing that the process of creating a homunculus itself is tainted and can be dangerous, resulting in the creation of a demonic being. Ancient philosophers, using the scientific method, devised a method for curing this disease and creating a pure homunculus, as with the cosmic man by the master alchemist Ankabutha. This knowledge came from ancient times. It was passed from Greek Coptic text to Arabic, then to Latin, where it was learned by the monks in the church. This early time period of the ancient Greeks and Romans, who practiced their own unique rituals of creating a homunculus, are not as ancient as we're told. One solid proof of this is the frescoes themselves, the use of advanced medieval painting techniques and perspective, along with the same alchemical symbols. These practices were kept secret under initiation, and these rites are ancient in origin, going back to strange fertility cults involving gruesome ceremonies and initiation. It would seem that there was a great power, possibly allowing the gift of making miracles occur. Perhaps the homunculus is a huge missing piece to how magic works, and there are even multiple levels to that. The occult double body or body of light allows you to directly influence the astral realm, which would be considered a neophyte level ability. However, the creation of a supernatural physical homunculus created from talismanic astrological energies can create a physical cage or capture the planets and stars into a physical form. By doing this, they can cause certain magical events to happen. This practice is a black magic form of the homunculus, using it to create powerful planetary god humans that have special gifts and powers. But over time, this knowledge slipped into the hands of the church, or perhaps it was stolen. After a reset occurred, now we know that the alchemists were indeed trying to influence comets and astrological events. Maybe the homunculus was one of the means into causing certain resets. After this, whoever held this knowledge ruled the world, because they had the ability to create humans. With this knowledge, the church would then have the ability to create entire orders and populations of people. They realized this was their golden egg. They could create Madonna's child for the king, and eventually had mastered this secret. This was the means in which they would destroy and reseed populations, the story of Noah and Abraham. The Abrahamic religions were created. The art of the ritualistic creation of artificial life was the highest secret. This knowledge started with the early Phoenician Canaanite priests deciding to use this ancient wisdom for a hijack. This knowledge was used to create a divine homunculus, Jesus, and I believe he did exist, and they had multiple Jesus divine homunculi. Think about it. Jesus had miraculous powers and was born of a virgin. He can bring the heavens down, and he causes the reset on the last judgment on his second coming. This is all symbolism from the Book of the Cow. Remember the Ripley scroll? They found secret wisdom, kept everything secret, let out the parcels in esoteric format, and then used this knowledge to repopulate ancient cities that were taken over after cataclysms. What are the implications of all of this if it's true? Well, for me, it allows a deeper insight into the minds of the medieval writers and painters. It shows how deep the mysteries truly can be, and they have been pondered upon in a similar manner by medieval artists for centuries. This topic expands far more than just alchemy from the 15th to 16th centuries. We're talking about a lost ancient science that then after a hijack got turned into occult ritualistic practices, and then from there, it was converted into religion. The homunculus is a divine principle, just like magic. It is a talisman, the collection of divine energies into physical form. But it is also the union of opposites, soul and moon, creating our harmonized being, the balancing of both positive and negative forces. It's the ability to create astral forms and project intelligence into them, or even to use for astral projection. But we shall not leave this video concluding that the homunculus is purely metaphysical or philosophical. It was also possible literally, as above, so below. There are many more things to discuss, and this video really only scratches the surface. I wanted to give another final shout out to Juan on Juan. Please go send him some love, as he really assisted us with notes and research, so I'm very thankful. I would also like to thank Hathmis, the Spanish translator for the channel. If you're Spanish, make sure to check that out. He also assisted with editing and researching, which really helped trying to finalize this. This was a big project, and I appreciate everyone for their assistance. If you want to support us, please come check out our website and subscribe so that we can keep you guys updated. Check out our translation channels. And also, if you want to join the community, share knowledge, or even shoot us a message, come check out the MU Discord. With that, we hope you all enjoyed the video. It's important to always treat this knowledge with respect and to never abuse. Stay curious, and may our minds be unveiled.
Let go of everything you think to be true. Relax the mind and ask the question, do I truly understand what this reality is?